story of our Vietnam service members, a story that needs to be told. This is what this 50th anniversary is all about. It's another opportunity to say to our Vietnam veterans what we should have been saying from the beginning. You did your job. You served with honor. You made us proud. You came home and you helped build the America that we love and that we cherish. Let's resolve that in our democracy we can debate and disagree even in a time of war, but let us never use patriotism as a political sword. Patriots can support a war, patriots can oppose a war. And whatever our view, let us always stand united in support of our troops who we've placed in harm's way. That is our solemn obligation. Let's resolve to take care of our veterans as well as they've taken care of us. Not just talk, but actions. Not just in the first 5 years after a war, but first 5 decades. For our Vietnam veterans, this means the disability benefits for diseases connected to Agent Orange. It means job opportunities and mental health care to help you stand tall again. It means ending the tragedy of veterans' homelessness so that every veteran who has fought for America has a home in America. You shouldn't have to fight for a roof over your heads when you fought on behalf of the country that you love. And when an American does not come back, including the 1,666 Americans still missing from the Vietnam War, let us resolve to do everything in our power to bring them home. This is our solemn promise to mothers like Sarah Shea, who joins us today, 93 years old, who has honored her son, Major Donald Shea Jr., missing in action for 42 years. There she is. Sarah, thank you for your courage. God bless you. And you were there for each other. And just as importantly, you didn't just take care of your own. You cared for those that followed. You made it your mission to make sure today's troops get the respect and support that all too often you did not receive. Because of you, because you didn't let us forget. At our airports, our returning troops get off the airplane and you are there to shake their hands. Because of you, across America, communities have welcomed home our forces from Iraq. And when our troops return from Afghanistan, America will give this entire 9/11 generation the welcome home they deserve. That happened in part because of you. Because of Vietnam and our veterans, we now use American power smarter. We honor our military more. We take care of our veterans better. Because of the hard lessons of Vietnam, because of you, America is stronger than before. This is important for all of us, whether you fought in the Vietnam War or fought against it, whether you were too young to be shaped by it. It is important that our children understand the sacrifices that were made by our troops in Vietnam. That for them, this is more than just a name in the history books. It's important that we know the lesson of a gift once left at this memorial. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. Thank you. We appreciate you. Welcome home.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carlo Albanese from the New York area. I'd like to take this moment to thank the IOM, the Institute of Medicine, and Dr. Mary Paxton for giving me the opportunity to present this to you on videotape. Unfortunately, I cannot join you today because I found out about the meeting just recently, about a week ago. And under those circumstances, it's just physically impossible for me to physically be there and attend this meeting. 3 Vietnam veterans, Plácido Salazar, Leroy Foster, and Ralph Stanton, have asked me to be their voices today and represent their opinions, their views, their facts, and their issues surrounding Agent Orange at this meeting today. They couldn't attend today because of their very own personal debilitating physical illnesses related to exposure to Agent Orange, and because of their many financial restrictions, they could not afford to be there today. Their views and my views represent the views of many veterans who have been exposed to Agent Orange dioxin, whether it be in country, out of country, stateside, on Guam, on Thailand, or any place where Agent Orange was stored, used, sprayed. This presentation is divided into 2 DVDs running about 12 minutes each. We hope that you'll use this information and use it in the 2014 Agent Orange update moving forward. But I would like to say that I did attend the 2012 Agent Orange update with a group that we called ourselves the Agent Orange Movement Group, and that consisted of 4 veterans, Leroy Foster, Ralph Stanton, Plácido Salazar, and Helene Van Cliff. And back then we wanted to present to the IOM evidence, facts, documentation that related to stateside exposures, meaning that you did not have to be in Southeast Asia, you did not have to be in Vietnam, you did not have to be boots on the ground in order to be exposed to dioxin, herbicides, or Agent Orange. Exposure to the chemicals of Agent Orange, dioxin, TCDD, didn't only exist in Vietnam. And the point was that we tried to present to the IOM back then that the Agent Orange law of 1991, PL 102-4, had certain conditions in it back then that no longer really exist or apply to the veterans who did not serve in Vietnam, that were just as equally exposed, and in some particular cases known as direct exposure on Guam or Fort McClellan or military bases, were equally exposed and had never been considered in any research or analysis or studies to date. So we brought that down to the IOM back in 2012 to bring that evidence. We presented with factual evidence from Leroy Foster and Ralph Stanton, who served on Guam during the Vietnam campaign, both suffering from very serious illnesses, presumptives related to Agent Orange, but unfortunately have been denied any agent medical disability compensation or claims because they were not in Vietnam. The challenge that we brought to the IOM and we officially wanted to get documented was to challenge the Public Law 102-4, the Agent Orange Act of 1991, and present evidence, living facts, evidence, veterans who did not serve in Vietnam, who were in support capacities on Guam, whether it be Thailand, Fort McClellan, U.S. military bases stateside, and bring this evidence after 22 years to the IOM, which had never been looked at, researched, investigated, or even brought to the attention of Congress. So back in 2012, when the Agent Orange Movement Group addressed the IOM, hopefully the IOM had an opportunity to listen to that criteria and make recommendations up until this point that would change the criteria, the dynamics, and the circumstances in which veterans who did not physically be in Vietnam, boots on the ground, also have the opportunity to have their illnesses, their related presumptives addressed and covered by the VA medical care disability benefits. But I'm here today to move forward in certain other areas that I also feel have not been addressed, which I will get into later. I just want to make mention of a little history, if I can, so we can have a recap of where we are today with the Institute of Medicine from the very first Agent Orange study dating back to 1992 all the way up to this current last final one, 2014, and give everyone just a little idea of the mission of what was hopefully to be accomplished from 1991 to 2012. I would like to make reference to, I guess, the mission statement of the IOM as it related to 1992 when they held their very first meeting and followed up with 2 more meetings in 1992, and really what the mission and the purpose of the IOM back then was as it relates to the Vietnam veteran and those exposed to herbicides and Agent Orange used in Vietnam. I want to read something that is actually in the very first 1992 edition that was released by the IOM. And if you just give me a moment, I'll read exactly what those words say, which is the premise for anyone attending any one of these meetings. And here's what was published in 1992 in the very first Institute of Medicine's release of the study, Herbicides Used in Vietnam. And it says, "Yet the committee," meaning the IOM, "realized from the beginning that it could not conduct a credible scientific review without an understanding of the experiences and perspectives of veterans. Thus, to supplement its standard scientific process, the committee opened several of its meetings to the public to allow veterans and other interested individuals to voice their concerns and opinions, to provide personal information about individual exposures to herbicides and associated effects, and to educate the committee on recent research results and studies still underway. Given the nature of the controversy surrounding this issue, the committee deemed it vital to convene open meetings as well. 3 public meetings were held during the course of the study, again relating back to the 1992 study, which provided timely forums for veterans and veteran service organizations, researchers, policymakers, and other interested parties to present their concerns, review research, and exchange information directly with the committee members. Timely forums, it quotes here. The very first meeting was on September 1st, 1992. Back then, which is very different than 2014 and 2012, but back then in 1992, the Institute of Medicine Committee sent announcements to nearly 1,000 persons known to have interest in the issue. News of the meeting was circulated to approximately 1,500 media outlets nationwide. The second meeting that followed up was December 1992, and the third meeting that followed up was February 1993 was the third meeting. So having read the first mission of the Institute of Medicine as it related to holding these meetings and these forums, there was a well-advanced notice of those particular meetings. When you look at the 2014 meeting today, in which I can't be present, which is the reason why I'm doing a video presentation, there was probably a 2-week notice. The media was not notified, veterans were not notified, the veterans organizations were not notified to the best of my knowledge, and if they have, then I welcome the Institute of Medicine to provide that documentation, that information. And as you look around you today, and you look in the audience around you, compared to the 1992 meeting, and one of the reasons why I'm very happy that Mike Eckstein is there today is to share with you the atmosphere today and what justifies that atmosphere today. After 50 years of the Vietnam War that's passed, and after 22 years of the Institute of Medicine studies, analysis, conclusions, the Vietnam veteran and many veterans have really lost faith in the process. They don't trust anyone anymore. They have no confidence. They think there's no credibility in the work of the IOM and the work of Congress to provide them with the answers, the conclusions, the health care. Many veterans, I express their views here, just don't trust any bureaucracy anymore in Washington because it's taken this long, many, many years, 22 years to continue this research and studies while veterans sit by the sidelines and die and suffer. If you look around you today, I think you're going to find very concrete evidence that there's hardly any veteran in that room. When you compare that to 1992, when there was standing room only in that room. So look around you and ask yourself, what's happened? What have you really done? Have you provided the veteran with the answers that they really need? I think the IOM has not done a very good job in the last couple of years of not the research analysis, but continuing in the philosophy and the ideology of serving the veteran and having the veteran there. I think and I hope, as I speak to you right now, that for your January meeting coming up, that you'll take the proper protocol, just like you did in 1992, and make the effort to announce this meeting to 1,500 media people, to every veterans organization, and have that place filled so they can come to you and explain to you after 22 years, not just opinions any longer, but actual evidence of their suffering, their illnesses, the hundreds and thousands of deaths that have taken place since the very first meeting in 1992. I think you'll have evidence there, as you have welcomed back in 1992 to hear the opinions, to have people participate in the process. So I think the IOM today falls short of that process and the procedures that we had expected to have in place at this point. I'm sorry to say this, but I think the IOM has really fallen short on the 2014 update, or I would have been there today. I would have brought down another group, maybe hundreds of veterans this time. Unfortunately, we've been deprived of that opportunity. The standards have changed. Having said that, I want to reflect on some of the issues that I believe have never been addressed at all. You're asking for recommendations of what can the Institute of Medicine do moving forward, and what are the related illnesses that could possibly be associated, an assumed association to exposures to herbicides. Well, one of the issues that I'm going to bring to you today that I think the Institute of Medicine and all of you scientists sitting there today should be recommending to the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs and to Congress is areas associated with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder,